Gear up, guys.
I hated that art and commerce do not always go hand in hand, and sometimes this leads to the cancellation of some rather ambitious projects. For me, one of the most recent movie announcements in recent times has to be the R-rated, live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film based on a popular graphic novel. The project was announced by Paramount, and they even put together an experienced creative team, and as a fan, I was thrilled. However, as of November 2025, the project has been put on hold indefinitely, and in this video, I will bring you everything from the latest updates and rumors to the reasons behind this whole thing being put on ice. In order to explain the whole saga, I need to start with IDW Publishing's comic series Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin. So this was launched back in October 2020, but the concept dates back to 1987 when Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, the co-creators of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, first sketched out the story idea. This was never developed back then, and finally in 2020, Kevin Eastman decided that the time was right. He teamed up with a veteran Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles writer, Tom Waltz, and they finally brought this 1987 concept to life. When the comic series hit the market, it was remarkably successful. The first printing sold out in 6 weeks, and it quickly became a bestseller. In 2024, this went on to become the single best-selling graphic novel, and over 2 million comics sold in the year. Not only was The Last Ronin hailed as a great commercial success, even the critics could not get enough of this gritty and engaging story. But I have often wondered what really made the story so special, and why did The Last Ronin become such an insane hit among the fans? I guess a lot of it has to do with the innovative storyline that is set in a dystopian future, where all 4 of the original Mutant Ninja Turtles are already dead. There is a lone turtle who wears a black bandana and seeks revenge against the grandson of Shredder, and it is later revealed that the last surviving turtle is actually Michelangelo. The one with all the funny lines in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle lore suddenly has the most crucial job to do. Of course, the story was set up well with some really cool action sequences, but there was always the emotional subplot that made it special. The whole character arc of Michelangelo that shows how trauma and the sense of duty can shape an individual. In many ways, the story of The Last Ronin is devastating. Michelangelo comes out of self-imposed exile only to discover that everything that he loved is gone, and his brothers-in-arms, Leonardo, Raphael, and Donatello, are dead along with Master Splinter. The grandson of the original Shredder now rules the city, and there is a resistance movement led by Casey Marie Jones, the daughter of the original Casey Jones. We also have an aged April O'Neil serving as a mentor figure, and Mikey slowly comes to terms with his duties, something that he had never taken seriously before. The most emotional rich part for me is how he carries his fallen brothers with him in spirit. He wields Leonardo's broken katana, Raphael's sai, and Donatello's technological innovations, and he is constantly haunted by the visions of his dead brothers, even though their voices also guide him and support him through the process. Also, the ending steals the show with an unforgettable climax, where Mikey defeats Hiroto, the grandson of Shredder, but they both fall in the process. Mikey passes from the world and reunites with his brothers in Afterlife, and his legacy continues through Casey Marie, who steps up into a leadership role for a new generation of Turtles. I don't remember the last time I enjoyed such a deep and thorough storyline in a comic series, so you can understand the hype around this. Of course, the overwhelming success of The Last Ronin meant that IDW soon came up with the Roninverse, which would comprise of interconnected stories all set in the world established by The Last Ronin. Later in 2023, The Last Ronin: Lost Years was published as a 5-issue miniseries that explored Michelangelo's years of preparation leading up to his confrontation with Hiroto. However, this comic series also featured Casey Marie Jones, who trained a new generation of turtles: Odin, Moja, Uno, and Yi. This was followed by The Last Ronin 2: Re-Evolution, and here the story is premised a decade after the death of Mikey. The Foot Clan's tyrannical regime has ended, but there is a power vacuum where competing cartels have stepped in, and Casey Marie guides the new generation of mutant turtles to fight back. The writer explained the idea very convincingly during an interview when he said, "Our main rule was that they needed their sibling-family dynamic to feel familiar yet different. We wanted to capture the same tight familial bond between our new mutant heroes from past Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle iterations, but we wanted to infuse them with new personality traits that set them apart from the OG Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The best way to do that was to tap into modern personality, societal traits, things like social anxiety, autism, heavy integration of technology into everyday life, while layering those things on top of the tried and true aspects of what has made the original Turtles so beloved for so long. Well, his vision clearly worked, both commercially and artistically. You probably know how much the franchise depends on toy sales and merchandise, and these were flying off the shelves as toy companies were begging for more designs. Clearly, the Last Ronin universe was capturing a wider audience, and it was time to redeem the glory through a cinematic platform. This is where Paramount Pictures stepped in. If I am not mistaken, this was around April 2004, and Paramount Pictures officially announced that they are going to make the Last Ronin into an R-rated live-action film. Now, the fans of the franchise will know how big this was because in 40 years of the franchise, we have never had an R-rated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. This meant that the narrative could explore violence like never before, along with emotional devastation, and Paramount assembled quite a capable creative team that made me convinced they were serious about the commitment. They roped in Walter Hamada as the producer, and this is the man who served as president of DC Films during the Batman and Aquaman franchise. These films have shown the way on how to adapt serious comic book material, and surely Hamada's production company would have done justice to The Last Ronin. But some things are not meant to be. As for the director, Paramount never officially confirmed this, but the reports suggested that Ilya Naishuller was in talks to direct the film. He had directed the film Nobody in 2021, and he was a passionate man with a vision, which is exactly what the project needed. Even the screenwriter was Tyler Burton Smith, the man behind Boy Kills World and Child's Play reboot, and he is clearly someone who understands how to make the violence feel consequential. For the first time in decades, the adult Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fans had something to be excited about, a film made specifically for them. But if it was all sorted, why did it fall apart like a pack of cards? Well, the beginning of the end started with the August 2025 merger when Paramount Global officially completed its merger with Skydance Media. This was a massive $8.4 billion transaction, and the new leadership took control. Even though the fans were advanced about how the new leadership would view the existing projects, it was initially confirmed that The Last Ronin would be moving forward. Now it seemed almost inevitable, and it was a heartbreaking moment for me when the tables turned within a few months. On November 20th, 2025, both Variety and The Hollywood Reporter came out with the same story, and it was a tragic announcement indeed. The Last Ronin was being put on hold indefinitely. But was it a complete pause, or was it just a strategic pivot for the franchise? When I dug deeper into the reasons behind putting the Last Ronin movie on hold, I found out more about the decision of the new leadership at Paramount. Firstly, they wanted to follow the Sonic the Hedgehog business model, where the franchise tasted incredible success through its hybrid live-action CGI animation. The movies are family-friendly and appeals to kids, and it is as mainstream and accessible as you can imagine. The last live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film was Out of the Shadows back in 2016, and the movie was a commercial disaster, while the last animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle film, Mutant Mayhem, was a huge hit. The decision makers probably realized that family-friendly Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles content was the way to go forward, and as much as I am disappointed by the cancellation, I can understand their logic. Paramount also brought in producer Neil H. Moritz to oversee a brand new live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot, and this is the man who has delivered popular hits like Fast and Furious and Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, at least they have not chucked out the plan completely, and even though there has been no announcement of a director or writer on board, I see this as a positive strategic intent in terms of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' theatrical future. Also, while most of us were probably focused on the Last Ronin film put on hold, we probably missed out on how Paramount also canceled Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the animated series spin-off of the 2023 Mutant Mayhem film. Instead, they have got a Mutant Mayhem 2 scheduled for September 2027, and if the live-action reboot does go ahead as planned, you will probably see something family-friendly and entertaining, which will be hybrid live-action CGI. The project might be officially on hold, but it is definitely not a hard cancellation, and we can see something concrete soon enough. This is no more than a rumor and speculation, but I haven't been able to keep calm ever since I heard about this. Paramount has not officially announced any actors, but for an aged and battle-weary Michelangelo, the fans have deemed Keanu Reeves as the perfect fit. It will be absolutely insane insane if he actually slipped into the role, because John Wick has a lot similar with the Last Ronin, and I don't think anybody can deny the physical performance of Keanu when it comes to the challenging action scenes. Let's not forget that the actor has recently voiced Shadow in Sonic 3, and if Paramount is really smitten by the Sonic franchise's success story, maybe we will be fortunate enough to see him as a part of the project if and when it happens. The rumor mills also suggested James Wan as the director, but nothing has been confirmed by Paramount, and I wouldn't read too much into such speculations. The writer of The Last Ronin, Tom Waltz, has said something rather insightful on the casting. "I will say that my dream is for the lovely and talented Judith Hoag to be a part of something we do in other media for The Last Ronin. This would indeed be such a special moment because the actor who played April O'Neil in the original 1990 live-action film can be cast as the mentoring version of April." Yes, all this is promising talk, but I cannot get over the fact that we could have had an R-rated Last Ronin film, and nothing beats that for me, not even a happy-go-lucky family drama where it all ends well. The comic series has been often compared to Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, and a movie adaptation could have done that for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise. There was a lot of potential in this project, and to think that it all got wasted in favor of a family-friendly reboot is disappointing for sure, even if that makes sense in business terms. But that being said, the box office collections are important as well, especially for a big-budget venture like this, and I cannot blame the Paramount officials for trusting the Sonic model. As of now, we are looking at nothing concrete, and maybe we can have something post-2027 if the stars align and no cancellation demons hurt the project. Even the video game adaptation is in uncertain territory, and I am just looking forward to Mutant Mayhem 2, which is scheduled for September 17th, 2027. Maybe the success or failure of this film will determine a lot going ahead. Well, not all dreams come true. Sometimes it just teases you enough to make you hopeful, and then it all crashes, just like my hopes for an R-rated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie that could have gone down as one of the greatest. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the delayed film and its chances in the future, and also share your thoughts on the right casting for the movie if it ever gets made.